In the desert where fortunes are made and bodies disappear, one man controlled it all without saying a word. In the industrial wasteland of Melrose Park, just west of Chicago, where factory smoke choked the sky and immigrants worked themselves to death for pennies, Giuseppe Aiuppa was born in 1907. His parents had fled Sicily seeking the American dream, only to find themselves trapped in the American nightmare: cramped tenements, dangerous factory work, poverty that crushed hope like concrete crushes bones. Young Giuseppe, who would later become Joey, then Joey Doves, then simply the Morning Dove, grew up in a world where the cops were more dangerous than the criminals, where politicians sold votes like vegetables, where the only law that mattered was the law of the street. His neighborhood was controlled by the Chicago Outfit, the most sophisticated criminal organization in America, a machine that ran the city like a corporation runs a factory. Joey wasn't tall, wasn't particularly strong, wasn't the kind of kid who commanded attention. But he was smart. He watched the older men, the ones who walked through the neighborhood with respect, with fear following them like shadows, and he learned. He learned that violence was useful but expensive. He learned that silence was more powerful than threats. He learned that the men who talked the most usually had the least power. By his teens, Joey had made his choice. He would join the outfit. He would climb through the ranks. And he would do it the smart way, quietly, patiently, without drawing attention. Because in Chicago, in the world of organized crime, the loudest voice in the room was usually the first one to get shot. In the 1920s, during Prohibition, Chicago was the capital of American organized crime. Al Capone ruled the city like a king, making millions from bootleg whiskey, speakeasies, and gambling. Everyone knew his name, his face, his power. And that's exactly why he eventually fell. Too visible, too loud, too much heat from law enforcement. Joey Aiuppa started at the bottom, running errands, delivering messages, doing the jobs nobody else wanted. But he was learning, always learning. He saw how the outfit worked. Politicians were bought, cops were paid off, judges looked the other way. It wasn't just a gang, it was a parallel government, more efficient and more ruthless than the official one. In the 1930s, Joey got his infamous nickname. He was hunting in Kansas, illegally, when he was caught with over 500 Morning Doves in his possession. The arrest made local news: Chicago man arrested with truckload of dead birds. From that day on, everyone called him Joey Doves, or simply, the Morning Dove. It was a stupid nickname for a stupid crime, but it stuck. And in a strange way it was perfect, because Morning Doves are quiet, unassuming birds that nobody pays attention to. Just like Joey. Throughout the 1930s and 1940s, Joey worked his way up. He ran gambling operations in Cicero, the suburb Al Capone had turned into an outfit stronghold. He collected protection money from businesses, ran loan sharking operations, controlled bookmaking. He was good at it, not because he was brutal but because he was consistent, reliable, and most importantly, quiet. While other mobsters got arrested, got indicted, got shot in the streets, Joey kept his head down. He didn't go to fancy restaurants, didn't wear expensive suits, didn't drive flashy cars. He looked like an accountant, lived like a middle-class worker, and ran his operations with the efficiency of a businessman. And slowly, quietly, he became one of the most powerful men in the Chicago outfit. By the 1950s, Joey Aiuppa had become the de facto boss of Cicero, the industrial suburb that the outfit controlled more completely than any other territory. Cicero wasn't just a town, it was an outfit fiefdom where the mob controlled the government, the police, the businesses, everything. Joey's empire in Cicero included illegal gambling, casinos hidden in basements and back rooms, poker games running 24/7, sports betting that took in millions, juice loans, high-interest loans that trapped workers and small business owners in cycles of debt they could never escape, labor racketeering, control of local unions, no-show jobs, kickbacks from every construction project, protection rackets. Every business paid tribute, every bar, every restaurant, every shop, pay or burn. But Joey ran it differently than the old bosses. He didn't make a show of power. He didn't walk into restaurants expecting free meals and applause. He collected his money quietly, enforced his rules efficiently, and avoided unnecessary violence. If someone didn't pay, they got a warning. If they still didn't pay, they had an accident. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would make headlines. Maybe their business burned down when nobody was around. Maybe they got beaten in an alley at 3 a.m. Maybe they just disappeared. The message was always clear: pay, obey, stay quiet. And if you do those things, we'll leave you alone. It was brutally simple and brutally effective. Joey also understood something crucial. Legitimate businesses were better than illegal ones. Gambling was profitable but risky. Loan sharking drew attention. But if you owned the businesses, the restaurants, the construction companies, the vending machine routes, you could make money legally while still controlling everything. So Joey started buying restaurants, motels, vending companies, jukeboxes. On paper he was just a businessman. In reality he was a mob boss building an empire. In the 1950s and 1960s, something remarkable happened. Las Vegas transformed from a desert outpost into the gambling capital of America. And the Chicago outfit was there from the beginning, controlling casinos through front men, skimming millions in untaxed cash, turning the Nevada desert into the most profitable territory in organized crime history. Joey Aiuppa was one of the architects of this operation. Along with other outfit leaders, he helped establish the skim, a system where cash was taken from casino counting rooms before it was officially recorded, then sent back to Chicago in suitcases and car trunks. It was brilliant in its simplicity. The casinos reported lower profits to avoid taxes and regulatory scrutiny, while the outfit bosses in Chicago got millions in clean, untraceable cash. Joey's role was crucial. He oversaw the skim operations at several casinos, including the Stardust, the Fremont, and the Tropicana. He placed trusted associates in key positions: pit bosses, count room supervisors, casino managers. These weren't random thugs. They were professional criminals who understood mathematics, casino operations, and how to skim without getting caught. Every night, millions of dollars flowed through these casinos. Tourists betting on blackjack, roulette, craps. They had no idea that a percentage of every dollar they lost was being stolen by the mob before the state or the casino owners ever saw it. The skim generated hundreds of millions over the decades, making Las Vegas the most profitable criminal enterprise in American history. And Joey Aiuppa was one of the men controlling it all. But unlike the flashy Vegas bosses who wore cowboy hats and held court in casino lounges, Joey stayed in Chicago. He'd fly in occasionally, meet with his people in hotel rooms, inspect the operations, collect his money, then fly back. No fanfare, no publicity, no attention. Just business. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, the Chicago outfit went through changes. Old bosses died or went to prison, new leaders emerged, the FBI intensified its investigations. But through it all, Joey Aiuppa remained constant, reliable, powerful. In 1971, when the longtime boss Paul the Waiter Ricca died, the outfit needed a new leader. Some expected flashier, more visible mobsters to take over. But the choice was Joey Aiuppa. Why? Because Joey represented everything the outfit valued: discipline, silence, efficiency. He wasn't a showman, he was a strategist. He didn't seek attention, he avoided it. He didn't rule through fear and spectacle. He ruled through structure and system. As boss, Joey ran the outfit like a corporation. Each neighborhood had its captain. Each captain had his soldiers. Each soldier had his territory. Money flowed up the chain, orders flowed down. Disputes were settled in meetings, not in the streets. Violence was used sparingly, strategically, never randomly. This wasn't the 1920s anymore. You couldn't machine gun your competitors and get away with it. The FBI was watching, prosecutors were building RICO cases, and the old ways of operating were dying. Joey adapted. He expanded the outfit's legitimate businesses, investing skim money into restaurants, real estate, construction companies. He diversified the criminal operations. Less emphasis on traditional rackets like gambling and loan sharking, more focus on labor racketeering, political corruption, and white-collar crime. He corrupted judges, bought politicians, fixed union elections. It was sophisticated, complex, and incredibly profitable. Under Joey's leadership, the Chicago outfit became one of the most powerful crime families in America. Not because it was the most violent, but because it was the most organized, the most disciplined, the most businesslike. But success breeds attention, and attention breeds investigation. By the late 1970s, the FBI had figured out the skim operation. They had informants inside the casinos, surveillance on key players, wiretaps catching incriminating conversations. They knew the Chicago outfit was stealing millions from Las Vegas casinos, and they were building a case that would bring down the entire operation. The key break came from an unlikely source. Alan Glick, a legitimate businessman who had fronted for the mob, buying casinos with Teamster pension fund loans. The casinos were supposed to be his, but everyone knew the outfit was really running them. When the FBI pressured him, Glick cooperated, providing detailed testimony about how the skim worked, who was involved, how the money flowed back to Chicago. Then came Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal, the gambling expert who had run the outfit's casino operations. When his car was blown up in an attempted hit, He survived thanks to a metal plate under the driver's seat. He also started talking. Not full cooperation, but enough hints, enough confirmation of what the FBI already suspected. The investigation was codenamed Operation Strawman, and it focused on the outfit's control of Las Vegas casinos through front men. The FBI used wiretaps, surveillance, financial analysis, and informant testimony to build an ironclad case. They documented millions in skimmed cash, traced the money back to Chicago, identified every key player in the operation. And at the center of it all was Joey Aiuppa, the boss who had overseen the entire enterprise. While Joey ran the skim operation from Chicago, he needed someone in Las Vegas to enforce discipline, handle problems, and protect the outfit's interests. He chose Tony the Ant Spelatro, a brutal Chicago enforcer with a reputation for extreme violence. It was a catastrophic mistake. Tony Spelatro was everything Joey wasn't: loud, violent, attention-seeking. He was supposed to quietly protect the skim operation, but instead he turned Las Vegas into his personal fiefdom. He started running his own crew, committing burglaries and robberies across Vegas, dealing drugs despite the outfit's official prohibition, having an affair with Lefty Rosenthal's wife, creating personal drama that drew attention, killing people brutally and publicly, including burying bodies in the desert. The FBI loved it. Every time Tony did something violent or stupid, it gave them more evidence, more witnesses, more ammunition to use against the outfit. Tony's crew, the Hole-in-the-Wall gang, was committing crimes so brazen that even the notoriously corrupt Las Vegas police couldn't ignore them. Joey tried to control Tony from Chicago, sending messages, issuing orders. But Tony was out of control, drunk on power, convinced he was untouchable. He even started talking about taking over Las Vegas for himself, cutting Chicago out of the profits. By the mid-1980s, the outfit bosses in Chicago had seen enough. Tony Spelatro had become a liability, a walking federal case, a man whose violence and stupidity were destroying everything they'd built. A decision was made. Tony and his brother Michael were lured to a house in Indiana under the pretense of a meeting. Instead, they were beaten to death and buried in an Indiana cornfield. Their bodies were found weeks later. The message was clear: nobody's untouchable and the outfit doesn't tolerate cowboys. But it was too late. The damage was done. The FBI had everything they needed. By the early 1980s, the FBI had assembled a massive case against the Chicago outfit's Las Vegas operations. They had wiretaps catching Joey and other bosses discussing the skim, financial records showing millions in unreported casino revenue, testimony from Alan Glick and others describing the skim operation, evidence of Teamster pension fund loans being used to buy casinos, proof of violence used to maintain control. In 1983, the indictments came down. Joey Aiuppa was charged under RICO with running a criminal enterprise, specifically the Las Vegas casino skim operation. Also indicted were other top outfit bosses and their associates in Kansas City, who had partnered with Chicago on the operation. The charges were devastating: conspiracy to skim millions from Las Vegas casinos, interstate transportation of stolen property, racketeering, tax evasion. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution had thousands of hours of wiretap conversations, financial documents, testimony from cooperating witnesses. They had the whole operation documented, from the counting rooms in Vegas to the money distribution in Chicago. Joey's lawyers tried everything. They challenged the wiretaps, attacked witness credibility, argued that their client was just a businessman. But the evidence was too strong. The jury heard Joey's voice on the tapes discussing the skim, talking about casinos, giving orders. There was no way to explain it away. The trial began in Kansas City in 1985, neutral territory, away from Chicago where the outfit's influence might taint the jury pool. It was a massive case involving multiple defendants, thousands of exhibits, months of testimony. The prosecution told a story of systematic criminal enterprise, how the outfit had used violence and corruption to control Las Vegas casinos, how they had stolen millions from those casinos through the skim, how that money had enriched mob bosses in Chicago and Kansas City while defrauding the government of taxes. They played the wiretaps. Joey's voice, calm, businesslike, discussing casino operations, approving decisions, collecting his share. It wasn't dramatic or theatrical like some mob tapes. It was worse, it was methodical, organized, corporate. Joey sounded like a CEO on the tapes, which is exactly what he was. The CEO of a massive criminal enterprise. Witnesses testified about the mechanics of the skim, how count room supervisors would set aside cash before it was officially counted, how trusted couriers would transport it back to Chicago, how it was distributed among the bosses. They described Joey's role in overseeing the operation, approving personnel decisions, receiving his percentage. The defense tried to argue that Joey was retired, that he wasn't actively involved, that the prosecution was relying on old evidence. But the tapes proved otherwise. Joey was giving orders, making decisions, running the show, all captured on FBI surveillance. On January 21, 1986, after weeks of deliberation, the jury returned with verdicts, guilty on all counts. Joey Aiuppa, the boss of the Chicago outfit, the man who had run one of the most sophisticated criminal operations in American history, was convicted. The judge sentenced him to 28 years in federal prison. At age 78, Joey knew what that meant. He would die in prison. Joey's conviction wasn't just about one man, it represented the end of an era for the Chicago outfit. The Vegas skim, which had generated hundreds of millions over decades, was over. The FBI and the Nevada Gaming Commission had cleaned out the outfit's influence in Las Vegas casinos. The golden goose was dead. But the damage went deeper. The trial had exposed the outfit's structure, its operations, its leaders. Other investigations followed. Other indictments came down. The FBI, emboldened by their success in the Vegas case, intensified their investigation of the outfit. The leadership was decimated. Joey Aiuppa, 28 years in prison. Jackie Cerrone, underboss convicted, sentenced to prison. Joe Ferriola, acting boss, died of heart disease in 1989. Sam Carlisi, next boss, convicted of racketeering in 1993. The outfit that Joey had led, the sophisticated criminal organization that had run Chicago for decades, was fractured. Younger guys took over, but they lacked the discipline, the structure, the business acumen of the old bosses. They were more violent, less organized, easier to catch. By the 1990s, the Chicago outfit was a shadow of its former self. They still had some rackets, still controlled some territories, but the glory days were over. The age of powerful, untouchable mob bosses ruling entire cities, that was history. They sent Joey to Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary, then later transferred him to other facilities as his health declined. For a man who had spent his life in control, prison was a unique kind of hell. Everything was decided for you, when you ate, when you slept, where you went. No more meetings, no more orders, no more empire. Just cells and guards and other broken old men waiting to die. Joey's health deteriorated rapidly. Heart problems, diabetes, the accumulated wear of 70+ years. The prison had medical facilities, but they were basic, utilitarian. This wasn't about healing, it was about keeping inmates alive long enough to serve their sentences. Other inmates knew who he was. Even young guys who'd never heard of the Chicago outfit knew the name Joey Aiuppa, the old boss, the man who'd controlled Vegas, the guy from the movies. Some treated him with respect, the deference given to mob royalty. Others saw him as a relic, an old man from a different era, irrelevant now. Joey maintained the code of silence. He didn't cooperate, didn't testify, didn't become an informant. Other mobsters from his era cut deals, traded information for reduced sentences, became witnesses against former friends. Not Joey. He kept his mouth shut. Whether it was loyalty, fear, or just stubbornness, he never broke. In interviews with FBI agents, which he granted occasionally, carefully saying nothing of value, Joey was polite but useless. He discussed the weather, old Chicago neighborhoods, anything but the outfit. The agents knew they'd get nothing from him, but they tried anyway. Because you never knew when an old boss might finally crack, might finally trade information for a chance to die outside of prison. Joey never cracked. On February 22, 1997, Joseph Aiuppa died in prison. He was 89 years old, one of the oldest mob bosses to die in custody. The official cause was complications from heart disease, but really he died the way all lifers die. Slowly, alone, forgotten by everyone except historians and FBI agents. There was no mob funeral, no procession of black cars through Chicago's streets, no soldiers gathering to pay respects. His family held a small, private service. The newspapers barely mentioned it, a few paragraphs noting the death of a convicted mobster, a relic from another era. The Chicago outfit continued without him, but it was a hollow shell. The new bosses lacked Joey's discipline, his business sense, his ability to balance profit with discretion. They got caught easier, served time faster, accomplished less. The golden age of the outfit, from Capone through Joey, was over. Las Vegas had been cleaned up. The Nevada Gaming Commission had implemented strict regulations, background checks, oversight mechanisms. The casino industry was now corporate, publicly traded companies running billion-dollar resorts, every penny accounted for, every transaction documented. There was no room for the skim anymore. The mob's control of Vegas, which had lasted from the 1940s through the 1980s, was finished. Joey Aiuppa had been one of the last bosses of that era. And now he was gone, taking with him the secrets, the connections, the knowledge of how it all really worked. What made Joey Aiuppa different from other mob bosses? Why did he succeed where more famous, more flamboyant bosses failed? The answer lies in his fundamental understanding of power. Real power doesn't need to be seen. Al Capone was famous, recognizable, constantly in the newspapers. And he died in prison, brain destroyed by syphilis, empire collapsed. John Gotti wore expensive suits, held court in social clubs, loved the media attention. And he died in prison, his family shattered, his organization destroyed. Joey Aiuppa wore cheap suits, lived in a modest house, drove a regular car. He didn't give interviews, didn't seek publicity, didn't need people to know his name. He understood that fame was dangerous, that attention brought investigation, that the loudest voice in the room was usually the first target. His nickname, Joey Doves, the Morning Dove, was perfect. Morning doves are quiet, unassuming, easy to overlook. They don't draw attention to themselves. They survive by being invisible. That was Joey's strategy for 50 years, be invisible while controlling everything. Psychologists who study organized crime leaders identify certain traits common to successful bosses. Emotional control, never letting anger or ego drive decisions. Strategic thinking, planning years ahead, not just reacting to immediate problems. Delegation, building systems where you're not directly involved in criminal activity. Patience, waiting for the right moment instead of forcing things. Joey had all of these. He wasn't the smartest mobster ever, wasn't the most brutal, wasn't the richest. But he was disciplined, patient, and smart enough to know his limitations. He built systems, delegated authority, stayed in the shadows. And it worked. For decades, he ran one of the most powerful crime families in America while most Americans had never heard his name. The irony is that his greatest success, the Vegas skim, was also his downfall. It was too big, too profitable, too sophisticated to stay hidden forever. The FBI had the resources, the technology, the legal tools to eventually crack it. Joey's silence protected him personally, but it couldn't protect the operation. To understand Joey Aiuppa's impact, you have to understand what Las Vegas was before and after the outfit's control. Before, 1930s to 1940s Vegas was a desert railroad town, a rest stop between Los Angeles and Salt Lake City. Small casinos, mostly serving locals and railroad workers. Nothing special, nothing significant. During outfit control, 1950s to 1980s Vegas became the gambling capital of the world. Massive casinos like the Stardust, the Tropicana, the Fremont, billion-dollar properties that defined American gambling culture. Frank Sinatra performing, high rollers betting millions, the Rat Pack making it cool. But behind the glamour, the outfit was skimming millions, controlling operations, turning Vegas into the most profitable criminal enterprise in history. Joey was one of the architects of this. He helped establish the systems, place the people, organize the skim. He turned Vegas from a regional gambling destination into a national phenomenon, not through vision or marketing, but through criminal infrastructure that made it insanely profitable. After 1990s present, Vegas became corporate. Public companies, strict regulations, every dollar tracked. The magic was gone, but so was the crime. Casinos became profit centers for shareholders, not cash machines for mobsters. Joey's era, the mob's Vegas, is now nostalgia, the subject of movies like Casino, which depicted the skim operation Joey helped run. The character Remo Gaggi in that film was based partly on Joey, the Chicago boss who controlled Vegas from afar, who visited occasionally to collect his money, who represented the outfit's interests. But the movie sanitizes it. The real operation was more brutal, more systematic, more sophisticated. Bodies really did end up in the desert. People really were beaten in back rooms. Millions really were stolen from casinos, depriving the state of tax revenue, enriching mobsters in Chicago. Joey helped build that system. He profited from it. And when it finally collapsed, he paid the price. Dying in prison, his empire gone, his legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. Today, the Chicago outfit still exists, barely. They still have some operations, some territories, some income. But they're not what they were under Joey Aiuppa. They're not even close. The current outfit is smaller, weaker, less organized. They run street-level rackets, bookmaking, juice loans, some labor racketeering. But the big operations, the sophisticated schemes, the multi-million-dollar enterprises, those are gone. What? Because the world changed and the outfit couldn't adapt. RICO laws made it possible to prosecute entire organizations, not just individual criminals. The FBI got better, smarter, more patient. They built cases over years, using surveillance and cooperating witnesses to dismantle entire crime families. Informants became common. The old code of omerta, the code of silence Joey maintained until his death, died. Mobsters faced life sentences and chose cooperation over loyalty. They testified, wore wires, helped the FBI destroy their former associates. Legitimate opportunities replaced crime. The kids and grandkids of mobsters became lawyers, doctors, businessmen. They didn't need organized crime anymore. The economic desperation that drove men like Joey into the outfit, that was gone, replaced by educational opportunities and legitimate prosperity. The outfit Joey left behind was already dying when he entered prison. By the time he died, it was a ghost, a memory, a subject for historians and true crime documentaries. Who was Joey Aiuppa? Strip away the nickname, the legend, the movie portrayals. What's left? He was a kid from Melrose Park who learned early that the system was rigged, that honest work meant poverty, that the only way to escape was through crime. He was a criminal who understood that silence was more powerful than violence, that invisibility was safer than fame, that systems outlast personalities. He built an empire spanning from Chicago to Las Vegas, controlling billions in illegal gambling, skimming millions from casinos, corrupting politicians and cops, destroying lives to enrich himself and his associates. He was responsible for murders, beatings, extortion, theft on a massive scale. But he was also smart, disciplined, strategic. He turned organized crime into organized business. He ran the outfit like a corporation with hierarchies, systems, procedures. He proved that you could be a powerful mob boss without being a caricature, without the flashy suits and public drama. And he almost got away with it. If not for the wiretaps, if not for the informants, if not for the FBI's relentless investigation, Joey might have died a free man, his crimes unpunished, his empire intact. But empires fall. They always do. The bigger they are, the harder they crash. And Joey's empire, built on skim money from Vegas casinos, built on silence and invisibility, finally crashed in a Kansas City courtroom in 1986. He spent the last 11 years of his life in prison, watching his empire crumble, seeing younger, stupider mobsters destroy what he'd built. He died at 89, one of the oldest mob bosses in American history, having spent more time in prison than most mobsters spend in the life. Was it worth it? Only Joey could answer that. And he took the answer to his grave, silent to the end, true to his code, the mourning dove who never sang. He controlled the brightest lights in America from the darkest shadows in Chicago. He made millions vanish from counting rooms and reappear in suitcases. He built a kingdom in the desert without anyone knowing his name. And when it all came crashing down, when the FBI finally caught the ghost, he stayed silent. Because silence was all he had left. Joey Doves, Aiuppa 1907 to 1997 boss of the Chicago outfit, the silent king of Vegas, the man behind the skim.